Okay.
Okay.
Hi, how are you?
All right, I think we have more students joining right now. I think a lot of them from Yucai. Okay. Oh, finally, you're not driving, Miss Fatima.
Yes, I'm not.
Yeah, much safer.
Yeah.
Oh,
The political situation of our country and city is not really good right now because
oh,
there was an assassination attempt on our ex prime minister last evening. So there are
wow,
protests going on. So we got off
wow.
early today from work because there were like protests going on. So
I'm
we came
sorry to
back
hear
late.
that. It's just is it like a national-wide protesting or just in
Yeah, it is.
Islam?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Because this our last prime minister, he's like really loved by the people,
Hmm.
and he was having his a rally that was coming to Islamabad, which is our city, but he got
Yeah.
shot in the leg. So yeah, so everyone is like really upset and burning tires, and they get
Wow.
very emotional. People, yeah, the people get very emotional. So
Okay. Yeah, it's probably safer to stay at home during this
yeah,
time. Yeah, yeah. Let me see. I think we have Mr. Salam joining us as well.
yeah. Let me check
Oh,
with my students as well.
okay. Mm. Sama Kalim. I think we have most of the students here. Let me see. Mr.
I have few of my students here. Few are saying that they're stuck and have not reached home, but they'll be joining soon.
Okay.
Yeah, but I guess that's because of the protest that's going on. So because of road blockage, they're just
I
not able to reach home.
see. I think I have Usama here. Excellent. Mr. Salam is here. So I would like to introduce you guys, Mr. Salam. He is also studying in Chongqing, and his background is in environmental science. So I think he will be able to help us to work on the project as well. Hi, Kalim. Hi, Usama Kalim. Can you see me? Excellent.
Yeah, I can see you.
All right. Let's see. All right, let me check with Mr. Frank, see if everyone from Yucai is here. Hi, Frank. Are we waiting for more students from Yucai?
Most of our students have arrived.
Okay. All right. If yeah, we can start our discussion now. Everybody, if you can, could you please turn on your camera? So we just I need to just a screenshot or something. Hi. Excellent.
I'm in the car, so it's kind of inconvenient for me to open the camera. So sorry.
Understandable. No worries. Okay, so everybody's at home already. Good. All right. The purpose of today's meeting is to follow up on our previous discussion, and both school you have researched on yourself in regards of the topic of our team project, which is the flood, and we are going to narrow down the aspect of this topic to pick a focus, so we can work on it and hopefully finish it by third week of November. All right, I think we can start with Mr. Yucai, because they shared a document here. Some of the aspects, characteristics of flood and a coping strategy. They have did some initial research. Let's hear what they have found. Mr. Frank, could you please tell us which one of your students would like to share, or would you prefer you to share your findings?
First of all, I have sent a document in the chat room, and everybody can open that up. Who is in Yucai in charge of the before the flood? Before the flood, which one of our students is in charge?
We haven't just arranged this kind of things, but the main structure it's created by me, but uh, I I'm not I haven't prepared to introduce the structure, so
Let me to explain more. The whole structure of our study is compare the policies between our two countries, and we want to research on policies before the flood and during the flood and after the flood. And Shouqi, he actually listed out some of the points that we can do further research in the aspect of before the flood. For example, the weather bureau, we can research this bureau in different countries, how they predict the weather, and other administration organizations, how they help to prevent or predict disasters like flood. That's the first part. During the flood, it's pretty much the similar idea. We want to research different aspects that can help people during the flood, like the rescue teams, media, and so on. After the flood, there are some aspects like rebuilding, psychological supports, and we want to find policies or social organizations that can help that. And that's the whole idea of our structure. Yeah. So do you guys have any other thoughts to add on?
Yes, we have some thoughts over that. I'd like to elaborate about Pakistan's main metropolitan city, Karachi. So, what I can assure and particularly explain is that Karachi is one of the Pakistan's economy fundamentally depends on Karachi. So, in recent years, particularly in 2020, during the COVID pandemic, even Karachi experienced one of the worst floods ever known to Pakistan's history. And it also has this episodes of recurrent flooding in each year during the summers. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So the first or the main problem here is that people think Karachi is a city that shouldn't or can't experience floods. That's the main thing here, because Karachi is a southern city of Pakistan. It's particularly a maritime city. It has a fair share of its uh, seaports and sea checkposts, and so people do believe that a flooding can not really hit Karachi, because Karachi is not a neighbor to many rivers or lakes or whatsoever. But this is actually a completely opposite case, because in Karachi experiences the fiercest maritime effect from the seas, and because of that, Karachi has had a fair share of its cyclones, and particularly cyclones which are ranging at about 50 millimeter miles per hour and these speeds, which can really affect the rate at which Karachi is feeling, how Karachi is having its humidity rate, and because of this increased humidity rate, we are experiencing such heavy rainfalls. This is one of the major problems with the environment and atmosphere in Karachi. So the main problem with the atmosphere which leads to this flood is that Karachi is an extremely incomplete atmosphere. Okay, to simply explain how floods happen, to simply elaborate to people how we're going to cope with that, how we can find solutions for that, how we're going to outline and problems, and how we're going to find innovative things for that. We need to understand why particular things happen, because in Karachi, how the atmosphere is kind of incomplete is because of Karachi's extreme uh, carbon footprint. In particular of that, Karachi has a lot of multinational and transnational businesses, including the Pakistan steel mills industry, the Pakistan coal industries, which are really working at very progressive rates in Karachi. So because of that, particularly of that, Karachi is having a lot of carbon dioxide emissions, and not only carbon dioxide emissions, but it also had sulfur dioxide emissions. It had carbon monoxide emissions, and in Karachi, hopefully what the government is foremostly doing is that it's installing exhausts. It's installing catalytic converter exhaust in particular cars, in particular automobiles, in particular machinery, so that whatever fumes, whatever waste gases they're producing and excreting are free of whatever toxic substances we found in the air, in the atmosphere. So what we feel is important here is engineering. particular very innovative and peculiar engineering ideas, which do not target which do not only target carbon footprint or carbon dioxide emissions or whatsoever, because those are extremely generic. Uh, Particularly, anyone who wants to stop global warming, who wants to stop floods, who wants to stop natural disasters, will always pursue for reducing carbon footprint and always pursue for reducing carbon dioxide emissions. But why not simply have a bilateral approach, which also uh, answers both questions, which answers the question, which finds solutions to the problem of the carbon dioxide emission, but also to the origins of these carbon dioxide emissions. So what we really need to do here is that we need to standardize the environment on beaches. And the very important here is that Karachi is one of the only cities in Pakistan that has a privilege of having a sea view, of having a beach environment. But the thing is that because of that thing, Karachi having one of the largest populations in Pakistan per city, and also having the largest per capita income too, it has had a lot of concentration of population on its beaches. And because of that concentration of population, not only is there pollution, not only is there air pollution, land pollution, water pollution, and noise pollution, but also there has been a shortage of funds in the fishing industry. There has been poaching, there has been using of trawlers and net fishers that have led to a lot of disruption of aquatic environments. Now, you may ask why I'm talking about aquatic environments, why I'm talking about marine environments here. But the thing is that here, if you talk about geologically and we relate to this whole topic extremely in geographical terms, we can really understand that floods in Karachi, if I particularly talk about Karachi in Balochistan, particularly Pakistan had worse floods in Karachi and Balochistan this year too. So these are all tidal areas. Balochistan is extremely dry area. It does not experience any. It does not neighbor or has any lakes or rivers in its vicinities. Okay, we have something called lokes. These lokes are simply particular kind of meanders and estuaries which are formed by shortage of rain. But the important thing to note here is that the biggest problem here is the sea. The sea, which is surrounding these cities, is mainly contributing to these areas. And it can also be known that countries like Afghanistan, even though they're landlocked countries, they don't have any exposure to the seas, they are also experiencing this. So understanding what is the origin of this is extremely important, and the basic origin of that is the monsoon rains. And there's no particular engineering. We cannot engineer nature. We cannot change the aspects and origins of nature. But what we can do is that not only we can spread awareness, but also we can start decreasing the concentration of pollution, decreasing the concentration of aquatic exploitations, and particularly impose particular laws by the help of the government, by the help of non-governmental organizations that prevent poaching and trawling in such industries. And particularly important here is what we really appreciate is the idea of catalytic conversion. Now, even the catalytic conversion is very important in our environment for reducing the amount of carbon dioxide emissions in the environment, because we cannot only say that carbon dioxide emission is not only causing global warming, but it's also causing a lot of toxicity and a lot of concentrations of unwanted substances in the air, in the atmosphere. And for the well-being of someone's life, we certainly do not want that. For example, let's talk about Lahore. Lahore is one of the top cities in the whole world, which have had a huge carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere, and because of that, Lahore had a fair share of flooding due to these carbon dioxide emissions. Even though Lahore is not being surrounded by any lakes or any dominant rivers, it had this fair share of flooding. So it's important to spread the awareness for catalytic conversion. So I would also like to hear ideas and extensions upon the concept and notion of catalytic conversion.
Wow, thank you. It's amazing. That's a lot of information you provided. Um, I think my understanding is it is a raise awareness and letting people know letting people know the flood originated from what we are already doing. It's a huge, it's a long process. I wonder, because I'm trying to match the situation in Karachi and to Chongqing. So if we were to dig the origin reason of why we have flood in Chongqing, it's usually because it's not really Chongqing's problem. It's very much of the upper stream of Changjiang or Zhalinyang, other cities that is further west to Chongqing, where we are. So we are in the like middle of the Yangtze River. So a lot of situation is the flooding situation in Chongqing probably is different than what has been happening in Karachi. But this could be a very good cut point for us as a team to compare the origin of the flood. Like we can research on that. We can compare the cause of the flood situation, and yeah, this could be definitely something to research, and we can compare, we can share knowledge. And yeah, what do you guys think, guys from Yucai? Well, ultimately, saving the environment, like less pollution and lower carbon footprint will definitely help everybody, actually, not just one city or one country. It helps everyone in this plan in the long run. But my personal, my 2 cents is just in order to raise awareness for people like residents living in the city, it probably requires a different approach. But I'm very happy. I'm very happy to hear what Faizan, right? What you just shared. Yeah, guys from Yucai, what do you think? I mean, you could just
How about Yang Hengyi? What's your idea about talking about the cause of flood in different areas?
Well, I think it's kind of a good idea. We can just compare the reasons why the flood happens in the scratch and in Chongqing. We can compare the two reasons. But
Karachi.
as far as I think, it can be a little difficult because it's kind of a professional. It's related to a lot of professional knowledge, so it's kind of difficult for us to collect the data and compare them and we also need to learn a lot of advanced knowledge. So it may not be practical, but I mean it's a good idea. And so far we have like two directions. So firstly, we can discuss the cause of the floods and compare them. And according to our plan, according to our initial plan, we are going to do some researches about the government's approaches of solving such problems, including 3 stages: before the flood, during the flood, and after flood. So there are mainly two directions. But personally, I prefer the second direction because I think it's easier to discuss, and maybe we can find more things in common, so we can compare them and we can make some improvements.
Last time our students are mainly considering the deadline. We thought that maybe in this month we have to bring out the final report. So considering that, maybe finding the current policies is more available and doable. But if we want to do some research related to the natural phenomenon or biology or chemistry, maybe we have to go do some field study, do some experiment. But that requires maybe more time, and maybe currently we don't have that much time to do that. That's our consideration. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I may add something, what we can do is that entire group, one a group of students, they can work on the causes of why there has been so much, increase in the flooding, and the other group can come up with, the responses to how to, spread awareness among this general mass of people. So the entire group can work on different things and come up with an entire report.
I think that that's a good idea. So we can break our team into different maybe two different directions. Like maybe two or three students work on the cause of the flood. What we can share and compare. We don't. I think you don't really. We're not looking for like academic paper for that. Just as much as you could. As much information as you could find online, or you can ask. Well, we do have experts to answer that for you, but it's just more interesting if you find it by yourself. Um, the other part, like how does what does the policy look like in two different country, like for a national level and also from local level. I reckon for different cities, you probably have a different level of responding, which Mr. Frank just mentioned, like a field trip. I think maybe it's a good idea to maybe visit the fire bureau or the rescue bureau, to learn, to see how would they do to stop the flood, and or you can learn from like how do you save yourself if you find yourself in a situation of if you found flood. That's something we
Yeah.
can explore, maybe like take a video about it.
Yeah. Now, I believe that the Chinese student, high school students, they can do something of that sort. But since we are from Pakistan, our fire department, and we do not have such kind of relief operations or the departments that will work, because ultimately what happens is that our military takes over, and they are the first one who responds, and then we have private organizations and private NGOs or government-led NGOs that collect the fundings, and then they start rebuilding the entire, people who have been affected. So right now we do not have that mechanism where we can go to any department and ask them how to do prevention when it comes to floods, because unfortunately Pakistan is not very developed, and we do not have very developed and proper organizations.
Yeah, you're right about the organization and
Okay.
about. Are you hearing me?
Hi,
Yes, I
Hello.
can hear you.
Salam.
Actually, I was in my office with the students. So uh, I think if the students and local people or residents um, know about or try to think or try to learn about the causes of flood, definitely there will be some things which can be possible uh, to hello.
Hi, we're listening.
Acha, well, I would like to add to that something. So, adding to something more, we can also acknowledge that one of the largest causes of any flood, floods usually happen in agrarian societies, particularly agrarian societies. You won't see, it will be unusual to see a flood happening in a very cultural, in a very urban developed area. So the main reason why floods happen is soil erosion, and not only soil erosion, but erosion particularly caused by water mainstreams and water landlines. So what many people are not acknowledging is soil erosion, and soil erosion is particularly when the topsoil that is covering a particular land, and the topsoil that is covering a particular land is simply loses its nutrient, it loses its surface, it gets barren, it gets not suitable for cultivation or farming or even for any other purposes for urbanization or whatsoever. So what here is important is that I would like to add to an example. I would like to an example about engineered forests. engineered forests are very innovative frameworks and solutions to particular for preventing soil erosion, and not only soil erosion but also siltation, waterlogging. It can also prevent salination of particular lands, which can eventually lead to flooding. So engineered forests are particularly, these are already nourished plants, trees, and herbaceous organisms in particular nurseries, in particular greenhouses, which are then which are then installed and and then installed on surfaces which are affected by soil erosion. So interesting here is that the Tharparkar forest is a very important engineered forest, and because of that, Tharparkar's unusual flooding has been decreased by 50%. And not only that, but Islamabad and Rawalpindi, which are the twin capital cities of Pakistan, had also had a fair share of flooding. Not only flooding, but also having overflows of meanders, overflows of particular rivers and canals. So after we had engineered forests in areas of Rawalpindi and Islamabad, that flooding was simply kind of eliminated from the society. And not only talking about that, but engineered forest, what it really makes it different from other forests or other types of plantations or cultivations is that the trees, the plantations, the herbs, and all these are equally spaced. They're firmly installed, and because of that, the water, even if there's a surplus overflow of water, if there's a gushing force that the water is applying, that would be restricted by the trees. That would be restricted by, we can install bars. Bars, I cannot particularly, bar would not have a very literal definition here, but contextually, bar would be an upheaval of soil that can prevent a flood from exploiting the topsoil. And I think one of the most important causes of flooding here is exploitation of topsoil, because the flood, which can particularly settle in the topsoil, it will sustain its activity over there, and it will keep flooding until this topsoil is completely eroded. So we can avoid those by upheavals, by bars, and particular engineered plantations and forests. And not only talking about that, but plantations like these are very influential, not only by preventing floods or by preventing such natural disasters, but also adding to the low. For example, the Tharparkar engineered forest, it decreased the rate of droughts by also 15%. Droughts which were very common in Tharparkar, along with floodings, they were decreased by a lot of amount. So we can also put forward these types of practical and pragmatic solutions considering the particular cause of soil erosion.
That's like the potential solution for the one of the many solutions for the flood. Yeah, this could be into the second part. I think we can do like finding the cause as the first part, and the second would be possible solution or proposal for the solution, and also what do we do during the flood. So I think maybe what do you guys think? We break into two. Well, the first one is to finding the cost, compare the cost between two teams, two cities. We do our each individual research and share the cost of knowledge of the cost of what we find. And the second one would be because I see the list. There's during the flood and also after the flood. Maybe we can like combine that into like solution wise or proposal for the second part. And also
Yeah, that would be good. That
yeah,
would be
and
really
also
good.
so guys, what do you think? So we for the first part we just focus on the cause. That's what on the Mr. Frank's list says before the flood. So we just narrow it down to the cause of flood. And for the second part, we do like solution, and also maybe plus a little bit like how to cope with it? Like how do you
Yeah.
respond to
Or
it? Like
yeah, or
I want to
awareness.
okay.
The
I want
third
to add
part
one
can be
thing.
awareness.
Okay. Awareness can be a part. Like I think we also need to add in our report like the efforts, how China like how Chinese efforts like differ from Pakistani efforts. Like when flooding happens, how China respond to it, and how Chinese organization or NGOs respond to it, and how Pakistani organization and Pakistani NGOs respond to it. So
Yes, that would
that
be
should
really
also
good
be
because we can also
yeah.
consider the difference between the capital investment, between the
Yeah.
capital potentials of the both the countries, because particularly their resources, their potentials, their invest, and also particularly the help that they're receiving from other organizations and countries. We
Yes.
can also compare that on a particular level.
Yes. Yes.
Also, one really important thing, what is important to consider here is that there are a lot of potential for every particular country. There's a huge potential of reclamation. What I would refer by reclamation here is that these are particular organizations, particular firms, and particular establishments that can lead to having an organized plan for reclaiming and reconstituting a land if it's affected by a flood. But what is extremely important here is that what particular people do not understand is awareness for floods is something extremely subjective because floods, one never knows when a flood happens or does not happen. And the thing here is that the reason why the awareness for floods is so subjective is that we even organizations, even weather organizations cannot completely forecast these floods. For example, there was a lot of forecasting for floods in Islamabad and Rawalpindi, but these floods never happened because there can be a lot of inaccuracies in weather and geological forecast. So what would be a very important thing here is that for a joint cooperation between the Chinese and Pakistan geographical organizations and geographical establishments that can lead to innovations in technological advancements for particular machineries that evaluate these forecasts because technology particularly technology in geology in geography and science, it's extremely important for something to be determined because science is extremely objective, geology is extremely objective, and we can't really make things subjective. And so what we need is that we need firm technological base and advancements so that both these countries can not only predict but also can extend their reclamation projects if there's a forecast of a particular flood.
that sounds like another great solution for the flood. If we can use like you said, objective technology, we have advanced technology to be able to forecast it instead of people's mind. Like we have actually a system to be able to provide a scientific reasoning of why it thinks the flood is coming again. So it's much better for us to prevent it and prepare for it in advance. I think that could be one of the other solutions in the part two. So yeah, I think that's a really good one. So I'm guys from Yucai, what do you think? So we have the first part, finding the cause. We can sort of like decide on that. And this for the second part, do you guys want to do a little bit more like maybe coping mechanism? Like how do we manage the flood? Like what do we do if we encounter the flood? Like, are you more interested in that? Any ideas?
I'm sorry, I lost network for some time, and so
Yeah,
Hongyi, do
I
you
know.
have some idea? Yang Hongyi, make a summary or present us.
summary, I think it's a good idea. I think we can just first, just cut into the thing by doing researches on the cause of the flood, and then we can think about approaches, and then we can maybe think about the effect if we still have some time after we already after we have already done these two things. We can then step into the researches in the effect. But I think it would be pretty cool if we do the cause in the section 1 and then think about how to cope with it in the section 2. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah.
All right. So I think we have a rough idea of what the final assignment gonna look like. So we have the section 1, like you said, Miss Yang said, the cause, and we already have Faizan. He has done quite a little bit of research on that. So definitely we need to add in like our city, like the cause of flood. We need to add that part for our end. And for the next section would be the coping mechanism or a respond and solution, like proposal wise. So we have already heard like 2 very good solutions for the flood, and we just need to add in the responding part. Maybe we can, for Yucai, I don't know, like what is your schedule look like? Mr. Frank mentioned that you're quite busy, so maybe we can do online search, or we can check our nearest like fire department just to see what is it like to respond to the flood when there's a situation, so we can summarize that part, like in a practical experience wise, summarize that in a section 2. And for the proposal wise, we already heard 2 solutions, and we just add our Chongqing's, like our research on Chongqing's part, like what can we do to make people be more aware of the flood, although we don't have one. Or we can also talk about like talk a little bit about like why don't we have one this year? Why didn't we have one? Instead of flood, we had drought, we had heat, and also wildfires. So this could be like a for the future
Yeah,
research.
that would be really good, because the thing is that what we see between different natural disasters is that they have very similar causes. I'm not talking about tectonic disasters like earthquake or tornadoes and these things, but hurricanes, floods, cyclones, and sandstorms, and these thunderstorms. All of these have very shared solutions, shared causes, and shared solutions that we can particularly implement. So even though we appreciate that a particular cause for floods, a particular cause for these natural disasters can be soil erosion, it can be carbon footprint, it can be carbon dioxide emissions, it can be reclamation problems, and also inaccuracies in geological advancements. But also one thing important is the misuse of machinery and the misuse of chemical equipment by people themselves. One thing extremely important to consider here is that a direct cause for flooding can be waterlogging. Waterlogging is particularly water the soil erosion. Water simply rises up to the surface, and it starts clogging the land. It starts making the land more damp, and that leads to a lot of floods. Okay, because that raises the water level from underground, and when there is a particular slight, even a swoosh of rain, that can cause the flooding of the whole area. So we can particularly talk about that fertilizers, particularly the NPK fertilizer, the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium fertilizer, is extremely misused by farmers for particular crops. crops do not even require a huge amount of NPK fertilizer, but farmers can sometimes use a lot of amount, which can hence cause waterlogging. This not only waterlogging, but salinity, which can destroy the whole land for farming. Because even though we have to take precautions for flooding, we have to spread awareness, we have to do reclamation programs, but this also has to be extremely sustainable, not only for people, not only for the people who are using it, but for the people who should be using it later on. So for sustainability, we can't simply have the lands being destroyed and eroded. What we need to do is for particular reclamation of that, for people to use these lands very carefully and to have them treated in a very supervised manner. And not only about fertilizers, but it must also be recognized that Pakistan has one of the best canal systems in the whole world. And even though it has one of the best canal systems, it has still one of the worst floods in the whole world. The main reason why this canal system is not very efficient is because this canal system is not at all metalled. The canal system is simply made up of mud embodiments and all of these things. It's not metalled. The reason, and because of this metalment, this can cause waterlogging. This can cause water to simply get uh, discomforted in that area, and then it can clog in reservoirs. It can cause this much flooding in all of these areas. So it's not always about these things, but we can also put forward efficient dam networks. We can put forward efficient bars and canal network, which can be measured sufficiently and accurately by these things. So what I really found important is that more than the fire department and all of these things, a department which is really important here is the reclamation department, the home department of Pakistan and China, which need to cooperate, with the municipalities, because the municipalities which are controlling such mini organizations need to have this system of forecasting, system of organization, so that they can cooperate with the reclamation ones for particular awareness.
Wow, that's I can tell you're like very prepared. Kudos for you.
Actually, I didn't research that much. This is because I do a lot of public speaking, and we have a lot of talks on climate changes and all these things. And geography was a really enthusiastic subject for me when I was in middle school.
Oh, great.
And yeah, he's one of those students who have written research papers, and he's like my star student.
Wow. Can we see your face for just I just wanted to say hi.
I told him to turn on his camera, but for some reason he's just unable to. He's having some
Okay.
issue. Otherwise, he would have.
All right.
I told him to turn on the camera and the start.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think we have for our team. I think we have a pretty much clear structure of our final outcome of our assignment now. Let me check with Mr. Salam. Hi, Mr. Salam. Can you hear me? Could you provide do you have any feedback on the structure of the report we're going to make for this team?
Yes, definitely. But I was in office with my students and we have another meeting.
Mm.
So sorry about
Okay.
it. You
Don't
know,
worry. If you're not
I'm in Shapimba. Here is a serious COVID-19 cases.
I see.
Yeah, so we have to finish our works before 9 or
Okay.
10 p.m. I don't know that. I'm not sure that tomorrow I will come to office or not. So that's why I was busy with other students. So
That's all right.
yeah,
That's also,
the
yeah.
COVID-19 situation of Shapimba. So
Yeah.
but I will give my feedback very soon to you.
Yes, let's we'll draft it. We'll write it like a draft, and then you can give us some feedback later in a later stage.
Okay.
So yeah, recently, a couple of days ago, Chongqing, we found like actually a lot of COVID cases. So
actually one of my lab
one of your neighborhood. Wow.
No,
Sir, sir.
my office mate,
Okay.
he meet with some one, and he already got COVID-19. So we are in a hurry to go back from office, but we have to finish our work for today. So that's why
Noticed.
I'm yeah.
No worries. All right. Let me check with Syra and Mr. Usama Kalim.
Yes, yes,
Do
yes.
you guys have anything to add on what we have discussed? So
Yeah,
far.
yeah. It was a good discussion. Today discussion was like much more like concentrated, and I can see the difference between our last meeting. So this time, student like they prepared and they know about this like issue. So what I want to like share about, I want to add like that from Chinese side, like we like Chinese student should focus more on like explaining how China cope up, like because I witnessed that China is very good in management. So Pakistani people, they have plenty to learn from like Chinese management strategies. I don't know about, but I'm sure that this there will be plenty of things that Pakistani student can learn that China does in the flooding situation much better. So the coping strategies like is very important. It should be like added and it should be the agenda of the next meeting.
Yeah, I think Miss Fatima mentioned that military is involved when responding to the
Yeah,
flood. It's the same thing in China as well. Like when there's like a serious flood, we have our army soldiers. They just like jump into the water, like building human walls, like
yeah,
saving everybody
yeah.
out of the water. I think this is something we all have in common.
Okay.
So all right, I think that's today's discussion. Do you guys have anything to add? So let me just recap a little bit. So far we've talked about the cause. We also talk
Sir,
about the solution.
sir,
Oh
I
yes,
want,
Faizan, yeah.
yeah, I want to add something.
Oh, Miss Salim, yeah.
If yeah, if the student study more about the causes of flood, they will know about later. They will know about the parameter by which the flood uh, uh, can be controlled by some human or some natural way. So I think it's important to learn the causes of flood about climate or about something happen during flood. So if they study about the causes of flood, then I think it will be a more fruitful meeting or discussion.
All right. Um, guys, from Beaconhouse, from Yucai, you guys want to add anything?
Um,
Just
your students have
something.
anything to add?
Yeah,
Uh,
just
I'll- okay.
Okay, let's. Yeah, I think Faizan wants to add something.
okay. So, what I believe is one of the most important things that even though we can't particularly engineer droughts, we can't engineer famines, we can't engineer natural disasters, but we have particular engineering capabilities for preventing these. And what's more important than awareness, what's more important than preaching something to other people, is here to recognize that when something happens, we already have the facilities and potential for that. When the greatest problem with Pakistan here is that even though Pakistan has all of the land, all of the development, it doesn't have the capital. It doesn't have those investments. It doesn't have that uh, financial capability of doing some of implementing a particular function. So even in these jobs, we only had our army participating in functions. The NGOs were restricted, eventually restricted from going these areas because the flood was so overwhelming that because of the unavailability of particular automobiles and particular machinery, the NGOs, they were not able to access these areas. So what's more important here is that for infrastructural capabilities to be invested and not only put forward but extended, so that when such particular natural disasters may fall on people, we can easily prevent and tackle these. So what I believe is that there must be ration equipment for that. What Russian doesn't would not even would not always relate to something regarding normal suitings or food or drink or whatsoever, but it would also relate to something for the transport of people, because many people were simply eaten. I can use the word eaten here. Were eaten by the flood because didn't have those transport capabilities. So what is extremely important here is also to acknowledge the transport. We can use avian transport. Avian transport would be easily possible by using heavy duty helicopters. We can also have a particular potential. And for these, what I believe, what is the best organization, not only the Chinese homes, not only the Pakistani Home Society, the Home Security Department, but not only those, but we can also reach to international forums. Even though that would sound something very big to notch up, but Pakistan has had a fair share in participating in these conventions and internationally. And what we believe is would be the ecological foundation of the United Nations would be the best one to interfere and help Pakistan with, because even though like the United Nations has its peacekeeping forces for political conflicts, it also has this own force department for helping countries which are vehemently involved in these ecological conflicts with the environment, with the climate, with the atmosphere. So international attention, the courage to influence Pakistan for participating in these international conventions would be the best to tackle these situations.
All right, guys. Guys from Yucai, anything to add on our report?
No, I think we don't have anything more to add on. And I make an apology that today actually in our school there is suspected have a COVID positive. So all our students and teachers are in such a hurry, and we um, actually go home earlier than before, so we don't have a gathering before the meeting. So I think now our students should have an after meeting about 5 minutes to talk about what we should do or our tasks. And before maybe tomorrow, we will give out a memo or a document and share with you guys, and to clarify what we want to do next. So do you agree with that?
That's great. I also will be sure. I've already recording this meeting, so I'll share the download link, just in case some of you guys want to rehearse, like re-listen the whole thing. With that, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for this meeting. I think this discussion is very fruitful. I look forward to seeing the final report out of it. I can't wait to learn more about the flood. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you. Let's keep in touch. And for Miss Fatima, I tried to find a better solution for the online communication. So far, I couldn't find anything better than Microsoft Teams. Because in China we cannot use WhatsApp. And I think WeChat is difficult for you guys to register, and
Yeah.
QQ is difficult to register as well. I noticed they require cell phone number and a verification code as well. So I think at this moment our best option for students to talk online would be Microsoft Teams. All you need to do is use an email address, and then you'll be able to log in on Teams, so I can group everybody in one discussion group. Yeah, if you guys from Beaconhouse, if you could register Microsoft Team, that'd be great. let me know. In the meanwhile, Miss Fatima, you have my WhatsApp. So if I can like re-deliver the message just if necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, have a great weekend. I know in Chongqing it's gonna be difficult because we cannot really go anywhere this moment. But
Same in Pakistan.
oh yeah. Oh well, I guess more time for online reading and I don't know, Netflix, films, watch some TV. All right. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a
Bye
Thank you,
lot.
bye.
everyone.
Allah
Have a
Hafiz.
good night.
Please take care in
Good
your
night.
home. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye
Mr.
bye.
Eddie, can we
Bye
borrow
bye.
your meeting room? Our Chinese students have
Oh sure.
something to, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
育才的同学，我们留下来再简单说一下吧。因为我今儿把钥匙落在办公室了，我现在是在那个小区楼下那个保安亭，所以刚刚一直那个网络不太好，然后又听不太清。
你还有学生学校里吗
？Sorry.
Still you have a student in your office.
I lost. I forgot my keys in my office. And I was in another room.
我的中文马虎，我喜欢提高我的中文。
你的中文很好，
可以，OK。See you next time.
See you, Salam.
See ya.
Okay.
See you.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye。
没关系，我们说就好了。现在他们那边应该是对洪灾的原因做了一些比较怎么说呢？我觉得他可能是挖的比较深一点啊。他已经提到了，就是要过量捕鱼啊，还有一些一些工厂的灾害，还有一些水土流失，还有土壤流失啊。这些我感觉这是我当时上学的时候学到的东西，我感觉好多东西可能在咱国内已经可能是以前的问题了，就不是当下的问题。然后重庆这边洪灾之前的洪水，我的理解是还是上游城市的降雨啊或者什么的，还有一些全国协调性的一些区域的泄洪啊等等这些有关。
对，我们这边重庆这边可能一般都是城市的上游下来的水。
对，他那个宏观调控可能还是不太一样啊，因为国家的地理情况不太一样啊，所以说洪灾的原因估计也不太一样。我觉得这个地方我们就是毕竟人家都已经开始调研了嘛，我们就可以简单的补充一下就可以，没有必要因为我感觉感觉现在重点在那儿不太，可能重点不是在那儿哈。看你们了，看你们想怎么做。然后现在就是大概分成2个部分嘛，不是前面的一个是成因嘛，然后后面的话就是应对措施和一个一个叫怎么说呢solution 应对方案，其实都可以归到那个应对措施里面。
我觉得可以。那咱们学生后面就自己分一下工吧，我们再讨论一下怎么分工。
然后就是主要是针对我们重庆的这样一个洪灾的情况，然后来进行写这样一个应对措施和解决方案。
对，如果可以提一下，就是说今年的反常，可以作为一个就不需要做太多的研究在里面，但是可以提一下，这样就可以说给怎么说呢？就是就是代表着我们也是在寻求，在我们做研究的时候发现今年就很反常，然后大概去了解一下什么原因然后就不用做过多的因为我记得那个Faizan 他也提到了好多这些自然灾害的原因，就归根到底气候变化，这到底的那个根儿都是差不多的。按理说你节能降碳啊，这些该做的都做了 会慢慢好起来。但是这个已经是特别宏观的问题了，就不是我们一个学校我们学生能做出什么东西来啊。对，这个我觉得大家就尽所能及的看吧，因为我们做这个项目不是为了就是到时候要发表论文啊什么的，主要是想一下就是跟同龄的然后那边的巴基斯坦那边的可能国家不一样，文化不一样，我们就同一个话题我们交流一下，然后来互相来沟通一下就可以了，没有说要写论文，没有那个意思。
Eddie，我们还想问一下，就是那个我们后面就做这个报告的那个日期现在定了吗？
现在是这样的，就是整个第6届的创客营的闭幕式应该是在21号。就说闭幕式的时候呢，我们想要做一个每支队伍的成果的一些展出，然后这个成果呢就不一定是要那个什么写论文啊、出报告什么的，这些成果可以是我们这一路上这一段时间我们一起来讨论的一些经过啊，然后我们都交换了什么意见啊，我们都讨论了什么东西啊，这些都已经是我们现在已经有成果在里面了，我们是第一个队伍开了第2次会的。我们的时间线是比其他队伍要早很多的所以说这样就这一块来说就不用太焦虑啊，哪怕是就是到了21号闭幕式，我们这边比如说最后成果没有就是终稿啊或者成型啊，没有关系，就是把我们之前做过的事情简单总结一下，做个 slides 或者做 PPT 之类的也可以。就说就没有说大家挖空心思，没有那个意思，因为想的就是说今年就是简单的像线上的就是交流一下就是为了以后的打算嘛，等以后我们防疫政策稍微宽松一些过后，学校之间的交流可能会更多一些，可能还有线下的可能会多一点。
OK，非常好。
这边还有什么问题？
这边还有疑问不？
大家都发言啊，不要老被不要老被他们这抢了风头啊。没关系，那你就是想到什么说什么就好了，因为又不给你扣学分，又不干嘛的，当然也没有说那个说的好又说的不好，这都无所谓啊，就是跟普通讨论聊天一样啊，就是想到什么说什么就好了。他那边飞赞当时说的时候也不是好多话翻来覆去说嘛，也没有什么关系啊，这都交流就好了。
主要是他虽然说很多，但是呢，有一个问题就是我不是很就是有点听不懂他那个口音。就是然后他真想做计划呢，我觉得他第一个首先他要做个那个 paper 那种东西，我好看一些。然后就是他说那个他那个研究那个 technology，他说那个是客观的，然后如果研究政策什么好像是主观的，但是他那个好像说的不是很恰当，但我当时我估计也没怎么听懂，主要是确实没怎么听懂。
我感觉他的意思，
我不知道怎
我感觉
么回嘴。他应该是理科生，就是他一直想搞理科这方面的，但是因为条件的什么的，我觉得还是很难搞。所以我觉得研究什么政策应该要轻松一些，就是我想说的，但是我确实没怎么听懂他说的，所以就是一直不知道怎么回答他。
他那段应该是在说对洪灾的一些认知这面他也可能说就是每个人的想法不同，可能对那个洪灾的认识就是主观的如果是能依赖一些科技或者说就精准的建模什么就是咱们数学建模或者什么的，依赖这些方面去客观的去衡量，客观的去测量这个或者预报这个洪灾的话，这个东西就是客观的。就是就不以人的主观意志为转移。哎呀，我还记得这话就是他估计是这个意思当然就没有关系就像这样就抒发自己的看法就好了，就没有关系。哎，我期待我们再来一次扳回一城，不过看大家时间吧。哎，
对的。那要不最后，那今晚我们定一下任务吧，大家把任务分一下，就是成因解决方案解决方案的每一个细分的，我们分一下，然后下一次我们把资料准备足一点 他觉得 OK。
可以，我们提前做一些相关的准备。
对，就是确实有一点仓促。下午那个学校刚刚那个静态管理了，然后提前就
对，我
让大家
现在在
放学
学校。
那你能回家吗？还是就只能住学校了？
能回家了，现在能回家了。
那行，那好吧，那大家注意这2天多
对，大家
戴口罩。
都注意。同学们也是。
OK 那我这边就
分一下，我们之后再说。
好的，一会儿我把那个会议的录的那个链接发给你们，就是如果想要重新
可以的，
听一下它，
然后我们结合，对，可以详细了解一下，谢谢。
好的，
谢谢，
先这样，周末愉快啊！
周末愉快。
好的，
在家看书看电影，拜拜。